Welcome to the Long Road with Joel and Christy. I'm Joel.
And I'm Christy.
And this is episode 3 of The Nerdy Runner. And we are actually in Boston. You can see behind us, that is the Boston Marathon Expo. And we're about to head in there. But we want just to chronicle some things that we've done during the marathon, chronicle the marathon. This will be the last episode. Actually, I may do, no, I'm going to have the all my insights and everything too after the marathon at the end of this video as well. So this will be the final episode in the this series for the Boston Marathon. But join us as we go into as we do the trip and as we give you some insights to the marathon and to the expo.
We didn't really record here in the expo because unlike when we went to Chicago where we were able to walk 2 feet without running into somebody, it's not like that here. There's people everywhere. 2 feet in front of you, I'm afraid of hitting somebody. So I didn't really record anything. It's your typical race expo. And the signing of the name.
All right, so here's the iconic corner for the Boston Marathon. The two directions are right on Hereford and left on Boylston. And this is where you take the left on Boylston and head towards the finish line, right down there. It's about 600 yards. When you make that turn, you're going to want to start sprinting, but can't do that at this point because it's still about 600 yards to the finish line down there. But this is the iconic turn of the last turn of the Boston Marathon.
We took a different train and was able to come out on the back side of the where the actual finish line is. Be right there.
Okay, so we're on the bus. With Destination Marathons, we have a private charter bus that's taking us out to the start line, which is out in Hopkinton, since it's a point-to-point race for Boston Marathon. So I'm on the charter bus now and heading out that way, and I will let you know when we get out there. All right, so from where the buses took us, the charter buses, it's about a 600-yard walk to the actual shuttle area where they'll actually shuttle us over to the start line. If I had taken the buses from Boston Common to Athletes Village, I would have been dropped off at Athletes Village. But since we were with Destination Marathon, I could stay on that charter bus, until it was time for me to walk up here. So just give me time to get kind of warmed up and get everything ready and just be ready to go for the start. My wave goes off at 10:50. Hoping to be on the course by 11. So I'm trying to go over here and get to Athletes Village before they call my corral at 10:10. We have to leave the start area. We have to leave the village, Athletes Village, at 10:10 because it's another probably 3/4 of a mile walk to the corral and start line area.
Good morning, runners.
Heading into Athletes Village. Heading into the crowd now. It's almost go time. All right, here we go. Heading to the start line. Hey everybody, just wanted to kind of give you kind of a recap on the race. This is the medal right here. I'll get up close there. That's the medal. This is the T-shirt we got to go with it. And just kind of run down. You've already seen kind of the events that led up to how I got to the race on the buses and everything. Once I got into the start corral, I thought it was a very efficient way that they did that. They have one corral before you actually exit Athletes Village. I got there at the best time because I didn't have to stay in one of those corrals. I got to walk right on through to go to the start corrals. And you walk about 3/4 of a mile down one of the town streets there from Hopkinton High School all the way to the street where the start is. It's about 3/4 of a mile. As you get there's a lot of bags and things where you can discard your extra clothing that'll be donated. And then right before you get to the corrals, there's an area to the left. There's porta potties. And so that you can do that one last restroom break before you go into the corrals, because once you get into the corrals, there's no getting back out of them. And so my corral was set to go off at 10:50. I got to the corrals. I was in corral 3, and I got into my corral about 10:40, 10:45, and then once the wave 3 went off, I was in corral 3 of wave 3, and once the gun went off for corral 3, I mean, they just let us go, and so I was thinking maybe 11 o'clock I'd be off, but I was on the course by about 10:52, being in one of those closer up corrals. So thought that went really well. I would say if it's raining or if it looks like it's going to rain, and you have the opportunity to be on a charter bus that you can stay on until you have to actually go to Athletes Village, I would take that opportunity. We had that opportunity. We went with Destination Marathons, who booked all the rooms for us, and we had pasta dinner on Sunday night, breakfast at the hotels, a couple other events that went on throughout the weekend. It was put on by Destination Marathons, and then we got a private coach to the start line, which not actually to the start line, but to the place where if you're coming in and not taking the buses from not taking the Boston Marathon buses, school buses up to the Athletes Village, there's a drop-off place where you take buses to the Athletes Village there in Hopkinton. And so we were on a private coach, and we actually got to stay on the bus until it was time for us to walk to get on the shuttles to go over to the Athletes Village. And so I stayed on there till about 9:15, 9:20. I walked up, got immediately on a shuttle to go across. It took about, and they said it was going to take about 20, 25, 30 minutes to get there, and it did. It took, I got into Athletes Village. My corral was supposed to leave Athletes Village by 10:15. I got into Athletes Village at 10 o'clock, just quick enough to, I took my hoodie, I had a hoodie on, I took it off, I put on my, what's that thing called? Rain gear.
Poncho.
Yeah. So I took off my hoodie and put on my poncho, and I put my hoodie back on top of that because I knew I was going to discard the hoodie at some point, and if it rained in the corrals, I wanted to have the poncho on, and so I got almost to the corrals right before the porta potties, and I took the hoodie off. I still had the poncho on. One last restroom break, and then I went straight to the corrals. Got to the corral, like I said, at about 10:40, 10:45, and then 10:50 we were off. The gun sounded 10:52 across the line, and we were heading towards Boston. Now, for the race itself, if you know anything about the Boston Marathon, the first 6 miles are all downhill. The first mile and a half is very steep downhill, so you don't want to go out too fast unless you've trained on downhills to go out real fast. I did not, so I pulled back a little bit because I knew if I didn't, I was going to shred my quads and wouldn't be able to finish well. So I held back, running about 8:45 per mile pace through that area. I was holding that pretty good. Got to mile 6 and 7 and kind of turned it up a little bit. I had 4 gels I was going to take throughout the race. I took one at 5 miles, 10 miles, 15 miles, and then just after Heartbreak Hill at mile 20, 21, I took the last one. And then I had some Sour Patch Kids in the back of my flip belt to take one right before mile 25 and then one for a little sugar rush right after the race. So I was pretty pleased with my fueling. I got those done exactly when I wanted to. I did walk through the aid stations when I took my gels, so I could take enough water to get them activated and then see the benefits from those. But it was kind of cool. It was about 48 degrees at the start. Didn't get much warmer than that because the sun never came out. And some people they don't see that as a perfect day. They see it a perfect day if the sun's out and it gets a little warm. A perfect day for running. For me, a perfect day for running is overcast and a little bit cooler. Um, and so this day was pretty good. It was 48. I'd like it to be somewhere in the lower to mid 50s, but 48 wasn't too bad. Once you get out there on the course, about mile and a half, 2 miles, you don't really feel it anyway because your body starts to heat up. And so I really felt it was perfect conditions. It was pretty overcast, no sun to drain me, and felt pretty good about the temperature for the most part. And then we thought the rain was going to hold off for the entire 4 hours, almost 4 hours I was out there or planning to be out there. And it did for the first 13 miles. So for the first half of the race, perfect. Conditions were great. The road was a little wet because it had rained earlier, but it had not rained up until that point while I was on the course until I got to the halfway point. And when I got to the halfway point, it did start raining pretty good, pretty heavy rain for about the next 3 miles. And then at mile 16, right before mile 16, it stopped, dried up, and didn't rain the rest of the way. I was pretty soaked by the time I got to mile 16. Actually, Christy and some of the other people from our Destination Marathons group was there at mile 16 and a half. I knew where they were going to be, and still didn't see them. She did get a video of me, and I'll have her put in here of me not seeing her running right by. Anyway, so after mile 16, it didn't rain anymore. People talk about the Newton Hills, and I've heard people say, well, they're really, really bad. And some people say, well, they're not as bad as you think they are. It's just where they're placed. I'll say, from a person that's ran some good hills in Northeast Tennessee during some of my runs, those were pretty decent hills. Especially Heartbreak is pretty decent. You think you're over it, and then you're really not. It keeps going up. And so I thought I handled them pretty well. The second and the fourth hills are probably what I thought were the worst as far as incline goes. But I did go over them pretty strong. Felt pretty good about that. But the downhills are what really got me. I know people will say, well, downhills should be easy, but they are. But if you don't practice downhills, like I said, they do shred your quads. And my quads were barking by the end of the race. But from miles after I got over Heartbreak at mile 21, it's all down, pretty much all downhill from there. There's a couple of inclines, but not too bad. And I kind of held back a little bit from miles 21 through 24, 25, because I wanted to save a little gas for that final mile through Brookline and then into Boston and then on to the finish line. And so I finished in 3 hours, 49 minutes and 59 seconds, 59 seconds. And I was almost exactly what I was hoping for. I was hoping for anywhere 345 to 350. So I was right in that range of where I wanted to be. I wanted to take my time and really enjoy it. And I felt like I did that. There were times when I felt like I was kind of zoning out, and I had to kind of think about it and just realize where you are and what you're doing, and pay attention to your surroundings. So all in all, I thought the race was very well put together. There were some towards the end of the race that said they ran out of medals, and I hate that. I know the VAA is going to try to make sure everybody gets their medals, but other than that, I thought it was very well put together. I thought it was very well organized from the Athletes Village all the way, transportation, everything, getting 30,000 runners from Boston to Hopkinton and having them all run all the way back. I thought it was pretty well put together and pretty well organized. So like I said, I was pretty pleased with the organization and everything. It's really an experience that I was glad to get to do, an experience I'll never forget. All right, so that's going to do it for our road trip to Boston for the Boston Marathon, all the events surrounding that. Thank you for joining us. It really was a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Yes.
And truly enjoyed everything we did while we were there, the race and everything. We were going to try to do this video outside, but it's a little noisy right here around Buc-ee's, so we didn't. But thank you for joining us. And if you want to see some more of my escapades as far as running goes, we're going to put a video right up here that you can click that as soon as we do the thing that we always do at the end. That's going to do it today for the Long Run with Joel and Christy. I'm Joel.
And I'm Christy.
Don't forget it's the long run. Give yourself a little grace.
Bye.